Hello again, everybody. You're listening to the Total Basis podcast, and with me is not Sean, not Austin, but my good friend Angel Morales. Angel, how you doing this morning?
Great, man. It's glad to be um, subbing in for the great Sean and Austin.
Sean Austin, the actor, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about movies before we started recording. So Sean Austin, what, Lord of the Rings, Goonies, I think. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Austin unfortunately couldn't make it, but I know I do appreciate you guys trying to tune in. I know it's early for you guys. It's what time is it in Utah?
It's 9:30. That's not that bad. 9:30.
Oh, you guys
I
are
think
on
it's ten
Mountain.
thirty. I was like checking in last night and it was like, oh, I gotta get up like really early. And then I check, oh, it's an hour difference. So I'll just wake
Yeah,
up
I always
an hour
forget.
earlier.
I always forget about that because going to Arizona in March to meet up with Corey and those guys for the WBC. I'm wearing my Team Mexico kit, I guess is what you call it. Um, excuse me. That messed me up because I forgot that they don't do daylight savings. That it just stays a flat
Oh yeah, it's true.
time at all times. So when we arrived, we were I guess we were in Mountain Time Zone. And then when we
Gotcha.
left, we were in Pacific time zone. So
Oh, that's funny.
yeah,
I'm in mountain time zone, so
yeah, you guys are permanent mountain time, that's for
yeah.
sure. Well, anyway, we're here to discuss our teams here. We do compete in the Total Basis Champions League, as Austin had named it when he created this league. And you and I faced each other for first place supremacy, which I was leading during right as we got into the All-Star break, because it's an extended period. We do a weekly league. So I was beating you, and it looked like I was gonna coast to a victory. And then everybody came back from All-Star break, and then you came back and defeated me on those 3 extra days that we had. So you're currently in first place. I guess I might as well just show off the screen here in a bit, but you do have, right off the bat, I see that you have Vladimir Guerrero. I'm not going to name every player because we'll be here all day naming players. But Vladimir Guerrero, I'm pretty sure he's the big one. Luis Arias, having him in his, what do you call it? Flirting with
La
a 400.
regadera.
flirting flirting with a 400 batting average. That helps, and you guys some really good not bench pieces, but waiver wire guys, and Ezekiel Duran, Brendan Donovan. But I don't know who on your team would you say has been the most pleasant surprise this season in terms of the hitters so far.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Lisa Rice was a steal when I got him. And in fact, I mean, people are gonna say he's just average, but it's like, wow, most hits, best average on base percentage, less strikeouts. I mean, he's been a marvel as a fantasy owner. Probably that's my biggest pick. Like I thought I had him at a steal, and I was undervaluing him. I thought it was gonna be like a 310 average, 390 on base percentage, something like a lot better than above average. So I was expecting that, but not at this rate. So I'm really surprised that it went like that. And also the Texas Rangers players like Leody Taveras and Ezekiel Duran. I was just like, trying to fit the best of my team, and out of the blue, like these guys just bounce out of the shadows and started playing really well. So I'm like, oh, let's grab him. And all of them are like, at least Duran has a lot of like availability in different positions. So
Yeah.
that helps a lot.
Oh yeah, the versatility is always key. You also have a lot of versatility in Brendan Donovan.
Yeah, he's playing well too.
Yeah, I picked him up in my points league because we're running out of second baseman. Every second baseman I touch, he gets hurt. So, so maybe Brendan Donovan is next, but he qualifies. Excuse you. He qualifies everywhere else. He qualifies second, first base, third base, left field, right field. So, Luis Arias, I'm looking at the projections that Austin and I created. I have him ranked as my 89th best hitter. So yeah, I had him just in front of Yandy Diaz and Masataka Yoshida, and even in front of Brandon Lau, your Tampa Rays second baseman. I actually drafted him in my points league, and that's one of the guys who got hurt.
Yeah.
And just behind Chris Bryant and guys like Jorge Polanco, his ex-teammate. So yeah, if you would have, I mean, if you drafted him smartly, yeah, you would have paid dividends because I mean, and the projection had him going only for a 302 batting average, only a 302 batting average, right? You had him at 310, so your expectations of him were a little bit higher. And the on base percentage, according to ATC projections, Ariel Cohen's projection system at the beginning of the year, 363. You say you expected 390. Like, well, damn, Angel really likes this guy. He really does.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were undervaluing him. I think because of the
Yeah,
injuries and stuff, I
right.
was a little bit undervalued.
Mhm.
So I really saw the potential he had in Minnesota, but I didn't thought it was gonna be this. I mean, I guess the WBC playing in for a month and for Team Venezuela and Miami helped, but I didn't expect this. Like I didn't expect him to be flirting with 400 on the average at least. So
Yeah, and he's still young. I mean, he's only well, he's 26, but still, he's
that's pretty young.
it's
That's
still. I
prime.
mean, nowadays, who knows anymore? I mean, prime is relative. Who knows? I mean, shoot, the other day people were telling me that Juan Soto is not even in his prime. You're like, bro, he's been demolishing the crap out of the ball since the day he came up. But I don't know. That was a whole different conversation, as you saw
I feel
about.
between the 20s and 30s are basically your prime years. After that, it's just a miracle.
Yeah, after
The
that, people
the
start questioning.
Gossmans and the other players that have been good after their 30s are like, yeah, you're a miracle wonder. I don't know.
Well, you're Nelson Cruz, right?
Yeah.
And we gotta see what you're doing. Like, who's your doctor? Well, anyway, so I guess your big guy, and then your big changing factor was Luis Arias, or he's been your big difference maker. You drafted him, you believed in him. You also mentioned Ezekiel Duran, who kind of fits that versatility mold that you have on your team here. But the guy Leotis Taveras, who we actually talked about him in a recent episode. I forgot which one. Oh well, yeah, it was about the Texas Rangers. The difference between last year and this year, and Taveras is instrumental in having that Texas Ranger offense just be in another world right now. Um, and he has a big part of it because he kind of solidifies the back end of that lineup, but he also chips in 11 home runs and 10 stolen bases. This is a guy that my guy Sean has not been a big fan of, but I've always kept an eye on him. But I also kind of have a short leash on him because he does tend to be an over aggressive hitter, but it's working for him. He's showing off the speed. He's showing off a little bit of power. The on bases percentage isn't that embarrassing. So yeah, I could see how. I'll tell you what, I might be going on a stretch here, Angel, but he might be more trustworthy than Julio Rodriguez at this point.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
I don't know, man. I'm upset with Julio, man. I'm not too happy with him right now.
Yeah. I know Julio. It's probably is, what we call like probably a sophomore slump this year.
I don't. I don't believe in that shit.
3 year. I don't know, but wow, going off the limb. I mean, Julio Rodriguez is projected to be a superstar, so
Yeah, I
that's a
drafted him in
big
the first
stage.
round. We'll talk about my team in a bit, but I drafted him. It was either going to be him or Mike Trout, and I guess I did the right thing by going with Julio Rodriguez. But I mean, he's becoming really streaky too. But we'll get to my team in just a bit, as we did mention Randy Arozarena before we started recording and talked about how streaky he could be. Let's talk about your pitchers really quick. And the guy I see that I noticed is Framber Valdez, and I was really mad that you picked him up. That might have been why I concentrated on pitching for the majority of my draft, especially the
Because
early
of I
portion.
picked Framber Valdez, of
I'm, s-
course.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
It's because I picked Framber Valdez, who went all pitching. That was
Yeah, I'm not gonna lose that on these other pitchers. So I see that you got Alek Manoah, and he
I wanted to
infamously,
give him a shot.
you want to give him a
Um,
shot. He was available on waivers. Is that what it is?
yeah, he was on waivers. I was like, look, just came back from the minors. He had a really good start. His first start, the second start was horrible, but I just wanted to give him a shot. Plus, Gossman and Framber were like kind of like day to day, so I was worried that one of them were gonna fall into the IL 10 on
Mhm,
the 10-day injury list. So I'm like,
mhm.
uh, let's give it a shot just for a week, and I'm gonna not gonna drop him, put it on my bench and see if he does better to see if I need to switch another pitcher. But um on my pitch, I feel my pitching is really good. I've been bugged with a little bit of injuries here with Nerd Cortez and Kelly, but I feel my pitching is one of my stronger, a better, a stronger suit than my hitting. So
It's a solid lineup. I mean, I think your hitters are a little bit better than your pitchers, but it's still a solid rotation. The bullpen is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, we keep questioning Kenley Jansen, and all he does is produce. I mean, he may not be getting the rate stats the way that we want him to. He has a, what was it? I thought I saw that he had a 136 whip, 1.36 whip, but he has 21 saves as well, along with 38 strikeouts and 32 innings. I mean, you'll take that.
yeah,
You'll take that any day. Then you have Pete Fairbanks and Aroldis Chapman as well, who may be getting some more late inning situations, a lot more than he did in Kansas City. So that's an improvement there as well. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have Austin's roto rankings. But where did he rank you in both the
last week
offense and pitching last week?
last week I was one. I was. Let me confirm. Sorry.
Yeah. In the meantime, here's the roto standings that I mentioned. I mean, yeah, you're leading in whip. You're leading in, looks like you might be beating me in on base average. Yeah, I'm suddenly my stranglehold that I had on the pitching side of things is no longer in existence, as you're kind of overtaking me. You're beating me in ERA, and that was a category I was dominating this entire season. I'm looking for other categories that you might be beating me in. No, not that one. Where are you? Quality starts. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, like I said, that's a really solid rotation.
And I mean the way, like, it's not like I have more stars on my offensive side, but my
Yeah.
pitching has been so consistent all year long. When my offense was failing, my pitching picked it up and gave me the 40 enough innings and gave me the enough stats to win that week. So when my offense does, like, pitching helps you to win more championships more often than not. So
Yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like
Well,
it depends, right? It depends.
depends. I
But
mean,
like from my experience, like kind of like the 95 Braves and the Indians, when the
yeah,
pitching picked up, it kind of went the other way. But let me see the rotos. I was second on pitching. I was actually first on offense, so I'm undervaluing my offense too.
yeah,
But in terms of pitching, I was like 8 points behind you.
yeah.
So not it was a bigger lead. It's still kind of biggish.
No, it's dwindling for me. It's dwindling for me, and we'll get to it right now. As there's that, there's that my Waterloo right here. Last week, Angels team defeated me 12-8. So yeah, that the kind of a passing of the torch situation that happened right at the All-Star break. So like I said, I was beating you. We came back. You defeated me. Oh, oops. I was trying to get to my team, which is Razor Ramones. I think I'm gonna stick with that team next year as well. I kind of like it. It has one of my favorite bands, the
I
Ramones.
really got to change mine, but
Nasty Nestor, the Molester. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know if you ever saw that video of Jim Cat calling him Nestor the Molester.
Yes, I did. I think that's where that name got. That's when
Yeah.
you change your name, right?
Yeah, like literally right the day after. I'm like, no, this is it. I have Nestor. I had Nestor last year's breakout year.
So here you are, man. Look, 14 home runs for Julio Rodriguez and 22 stolen bases. So I guess that's much better than Leody Taveras, but it also comes with a 245 batting average and a 313 on base percentage, which Leody Taveras is just killing it in those two categories, as we saw on your team. And that might be the difference with well, I guess my team, we should start on pitching, because they've been kind of carrying me this entire year. And
you had
actually,
a really good pitching, not gonna lie.
yeah, but like we mentioned the last time you and I talked, that there are some. It's almost too good to be true that this pitching has been this lights out, and I think in the last month or so, they've kind of been exposed, and regression has taken a bit. Not that they were bad, that they were lucky pitchers, but it's just the nature of the game. What goes up must eventually come back down. Because they were, I mean, you told me that the lead that I had on the pitching categories was really, really high. And now it's down to 8 points. At one point, I had like a 25+ point lead on everybody.
Yeah.
Now it's down to 8 points, and you're like right on my rear view mirror. And and it's just the nature of the beast. What goes up must come down. That is the whole aspect of regression. I am happy that Tyler Glasnow has been picking it up lately. Spencer Strider has just been dominant, even though he had like a rough stretch where he looked very ordinary, and it looked like him being a two-pitch pitcher starting pitcher was going to catch up to him. But he's just been marvelous. I'm actually very happy because I don't know if you remember what we talked about in the offseason was I avoid all top 12 pitchers. I don't want anyone, but if I'm going to get one, like, when I say top 12, that means those are the first 12 starting pitchers they're going to go off the board.
Yeah.
And this year, those guys were Corbin Burns, who's on your team. Kevin Gossman was number 13. He's also on your team. So maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Maybe that's the wrong strategy to have. Like, you should get more top 12, top 13 pitchers. But in my experience, those guys come with a lot of baggage. They can't be trusted. And it's become a point where starting pitching has been very versatile, kind of like NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, there's going to be the elite, but everybody else, like after the second, third, or fourth best quarterback, between number 4 and number 12, 13, 14 quarterback in fantasy football, it gets mixed up from year to year. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. It's not a very if you don't have Pat Mahomes, you don't know what the hell you're getting at quarterback, right? I mean, look at it. The quarterback list is constantly changing. Am I lying?
It's more like, I feel like it's more like the tight end with Travis Kelce. You don't have Travis Kelce, you're just gonna be flipping around tight ends. But that's what it is.
That's actually a good one too.
But the thing is, for example, in comparison, my team has been flipped a little bit around. I had to add Andrew Abbott. I had to pick up some other pitchers that were like rookies, but they were like shining at the moment. So I'm like, okay, first start, he pitched 7 innings, no runs. I might pick him up to put him on the bench. Then the next start, he does well. Your starts have been way much consistent. Like Nathan Eovaldi has been lights out, like, in the absence of what was hoping Jacob deGrom. Justin Steele was an all-star this year, I believe.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, he was.
So Alex Cobb has been like fine wine. Just with age, he gets better.
Yeah,
Luis Castillo is, the ace of the Mariners.
Right.
Spencer Strider is the ace of the
Braves.
Tyler Glasnow has been, up and down, but more consistent than not.
I'm happy with him. I'm very happy with him.
Then you got Felix Bautista, which is like, yesterday we suffered our like 5th straight loss when he pitches on Tampa Bay. So I have nightmares of him. Andres Munoz is consistent. And
Yeah.
Tanner Scott, I mean, forgive me for my relatively not renowned Miami Marlins knowledge, but he's looking good from the stats. But
he's always shaky.
got
He's always
Christian
shaky.
Javier on the bench. John Gray, who has had his rough spots recently, but has pitched way good. So
Yeah,
really good rotation.
there are weeks where I just don't even touch my starting pitching. Like, I'm good with these guys. Or where there are weeks where I don't even bother looking at waiver wire for pitching help. I think the last guy I picked up of note was Braxton Garrett from the Marlins. In terms of starting pitchers, it's the relief pitchers are the ones who give me trouble. Ironically enough, I mean, I dedicate an entire podcast where I shine the light on relief pitchers, and I can't find the vaunted second or third relief pitcher that will catapult me to the top, right?
Yeah.
So even Tanner Scott's a little shaky because he's been known to just have meltdowns like nobody's business. He's been given the position of closer for a while in Miami. He seems to have the best stuff on that bullpen, and then when he gets called, he just implodes. But he does have 18 holds, so I'm gonna take advantage. 71 strikeouts and 47 innings pitched. This is a guy that I've been just keeping an eye on, and I just been hoping. Even when he was in the days with the Orioles, when the Orioles had like a horrible roster to look at in those past off seasons, there was Tanner Scott, like a beacon of light right there. Like, woo, this is the guy to look after. And then, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on. And every time I kept an eye on him, he just was struggling. And it looks like he's finally finding a foothold in Miami. So I'm very happy for him. But like I said, I'm looking at the top 12, top 13 list that I had. So Spencer Strider was number 8. And I did not target another one of those guys. And then the next pitcher, Luis Castillo, number 16, Christian Javier, number 17 on my list, Hunter Green, number 20. So yeah, I'm not going after these top 12 pitchers, but shame on me. I made sure to grab every top 25 pitcher that I can get my hands on, right? And was that the right move to make? I don't know. I like I told you before the show started, I looked at that draft over and over again, and it just, those were the guys I wanted. Those are the guys that I targeted. Those are the guys that I really thought were more valuable at those draft positions that I got into when I drafted those guys. And I just went with it, and it's worked out for the majority of the season, but looks like I'm going through another slump. So I'm hoping, like I told you guys last year, I'd rather have my slumps during the season than in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So get these out of the way. And because I focus so much on starting pitcher, thank you for the kind words. I know that you were marveling. I'm kind of like, well, you know, what goes up must come down, regression. So now it's just a matter of how are these guys going to react to these league adjustments that are being made against them. But there are some really good names on starting pitching, right? Because of that, my offense struggles. My offense has taken a hit. Josh Naylor, I drafted him and then I dropped him. He was going to be my backup first baseman or my corner infield starter, but I dropped him sometime in April or May because he was just so bad. I gave him enough. The leash just got too tightened where I just didn't trust him anymore. He figured things out. Vinny Pasquantino goes down, so here I am summoning Josh Naylor. So he's been a permanent fixture at my first base side. I'm happy, but I'm not thrilled about it. You know what I mean? Sorry, I thought you were the old habits, right? You know what I mean, Angel? It's like, yeah, he's good, but I wish Vinny P was still healthy. Because I had big plans for Vinny Pasquantino on my team. And then, of course, I got Rafael Devers, who, 23 home runs is nice, but it only comes with a 262 batting average and a 330 on base percentage, which is really, that's not how I usually build my teams, as you know, there, Angel. Anybody that sticks out to you that, go ahead.
I mean, I can see you're hurting when I see Jordan Westberg on the.
Hey, man, you know how I am. Hey, I practice what I preach. I tell you guys, hey, these are the minor leaguers that I'm targeting. These are the players that I'm looking at waivers. And then Sunday night comes, I look around the waiver wire. After I've told you guys who I like and don't like. And what do I see? I see all the players that I like. I'm like, well, if nobody's going to take them, then I'll take them. I gave you guys, 8 hours to pick up the players I mentioned on the podcast in the morning. If you guys don't want them, and I mean, Gunnar Henderson was available on waiver wires. Yeah. I mean, it's like the whole Eloy Jimenez thing from last year, where Melvin dropped them late in the season. Like, oh, well, my offense was struggling, so I'll take them. And then Eloy goes on the streak, and then people wonder how I won the championship last year. And so it's like, you guys are giving me the players that I want. But no, that is concerning. But I'm a big fan of Jordan Westberg. As I've,
I mean, he's been playing good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, but he's a rookie, and it's very risky. I already have Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, Jordan Westberg, and I think even Will Benson, who might qualify as rookies.
Oh wow!
And
Really?
I think so. Will Benson was a Cleveland Guardian prospect for a while, and then Cleveland just decided to trade him. And he's just been hitting the crap out of the ball in Cincinnati. As you can see there, Angel, it's basically I'm leaning on the Orioles and the Reds to try to get me out of this hole I dug myself into on the offense. So
you're bandwagoning with the new stars.
Hey, wait, no. I've been on that Reds bandwagon for like the last 2 or 3 years now.
True. You've been raving about Hunter Green. That's true.
Not just Hunter Green, but all those guys, Noelvi Marte, Ellie De La Cruz. Too. Although I'll admit that Sean was the one who kind of showed me gave me the directions to get to Ellie De La Cruz. But after I did my own research on the minor leagues, I saw that Ellie De La Cruz was just killing it in minor league baseball. I picked them up in in our Baseball Life League, the one that you're in right now with me, the other league. And I immediately put him in my minor league slot, and that seed ended up being this massive plant, and I've been happy. And then once again, I look around like, really, Ellie De La Cruz got called up, and you guys are just gonna leave him on the waiver wire? I guess I'll pick him up if nobody wants him. And then again, people wonder how I won the championship last year. It's doing the same exact strategy. But some of these guys need to pick up the pace here, man. If I'm gonna repeat, but I'll guarantee this, Angel.
Plus,
go ahead. Well, let me finish my thought here. I will guarantee this, that the only way you're going to take this championship away from me is from my cold hands, because I'm going to put up a fight for it. The results might not be there, but I'm gonna put up a fight for it. Go ahead.
I would say that Esteury Ruiz and Tommy Edman, in the terms of like base stealing, that hurts a bit because those are probably, well, I mean you got a couple speedster there with McCarthy, also Julio too, but that was a big strong suit of yours with Esteury Ruiz and Tommy Edman. So I guess, but yeah, I mean, and those two are big fixtures, I guess, on your team. So
They're
that
not
probably,
actually, and I'm glad you pointed this out because that was something I wanted to bring up because of the new rule changes. I didn't put a stock in stolen bases, and you can put a Nico Horner in there as well because he got 21 stolen bases.
yeah,
But the big issue with me, there, I think that was one of the reasons why, and I don't know if you saw it the same way that we saw it or that I saw it, but after a while, after we did the projections and after we realized what the new rules were going to be doing, I came to the conclusion that starting pitching would be at a premium, right? Like, because everything was gearing to open up the offenses, the base stealing. I knew
yeah,
base stealing was not a thing for me, right? It's never been a thing for me because I don't want base stealers because usually the base stealers have very limited skill sets. Like they only steal bases and that's all they know how to do. They don't do anything else. I will punt stolen bases, but I will, you know, always make sure that my other categories are elite level
sure.
status. This year, for some odd reason, I steered away from that, and I don't know why. But I ended up getting guys like Nico Horner and Tommy Edman and Esteury Ruiz when in years past I wouldn't have bothered. But I thought all three of those guys, at the very least, come with very good on base percentages, right? That they have shown the ability to get on base, and that would be more valuable than the actual stolen bases because you get more. The more on base you get, the more damage you can do, right?
Yeah,
Including stolen bases, including runs scored. Wrong. Tommy Edman, 303 on base percentage. Esteury Ruiz, 310 on base percentage. Nico Horner, he's been solid, but he's been in a massive slump the last 6 weeks, it seems like. 328 on base percentage. What was the expected on base percentage this year? What was the projected? I always liked that skill set from Nico Horner, but for some odd reason, it's just not been working. And the low batting average is what kills me here, Angels, because they took away the shift and these guys are still not hitting for a high batting average. 332 on base percentage for Nico Horner was a projection. So it's right around there, 328, 332, but I was expecting a much higher than that. But he is, I don't know. I'm just not been happy with him, even though he is meeting projections. I'm not been happy with him, Nico Horner. So yeah, usually I don't go after that, but this year for some odd reason I did, even though I knew that stolen bases was going to be opened up because of the rule changes. But here I am with three guys who I don't trust. So
it is what it is.
I don't know. What was your thoughts coming into the season with the new rule changes? The stolen bases, the on shift,
I feel on fantasy terms or in general.
fan. Well,
Just
this
a
it's a crossover podcast.
Yeah.
What affects one will affect the other. But go ahead.
Um, I felt like in terms of space stealing, we're gonna see a jump. That's the obvious. But I feel like players like Esther Ruiz or stuff like that, players who were not renowned for other stuff, now are getting more attention on the media, on social media and stuff.
Mm,
That helps a lot for the game. Trying to find those players that get the flashiest. Elio De La Cruz has been flashy a lot because of base stealing. But
yeah.
I'm not on credit. I'm not you know taking credit out of him. He's really fast,
Oh yeah.
but a couple inches more to the base paths helps a lot to get those saves more often. So, um, in regards of the shift, I feel the shift helps a lot the pull hitters. So now you're seeing a little bit more comfortness from the hitters to pull the ball. Regardless, they still get closer to the second base more often than not. But and what was the other one? It was the bases, the
The bigger
shift, and the
bases,
pitch clock.
the
The
pitch
pitch
clock.
clock,
Yeah.
I feel the pitch clocks have been a marvel. I people are struggling with it still and stuff, but it's like,
Mm.
well, if you're gonna take like 25 seconds just adjusting your gloves just to get to the batter's box, then come on, man. Like that's just I feel like that's unnecessary, but but again, it's been a marvel. I feel like the speed of the game has been more watchable. I could stick watching 3 hours and a half of baseball. Now I can have an extra hour to, read a book or, go to the park and take a walk with my family and stuff. But
So do you think that all these rule changes have really, aside from stolen bases, the stolen bases, they're gonna they're gonna bust some records here
yeah,
pretty soon because they're going at such a rapid pace, pun intended and all. But do you think that all these rule changes to open up the offenses actually helped? Because that's the one thing that guys like Ricky and Austin we talked about like what this has been such a weird baseball season. We did all these rule changes, and it's really we can't make heads or tails out of it. We still see guys like Joey Gallo who have not taken advantage of those new rules. He's still struggling. And that made me wonder, like, is it really opening up offenses outside of stolen bases? I mean, without looking at too much into it, what has been your thought process so far?
I feel it's, for example, the case of Joey Gallo. We also need to consider Gallo is a pull hitter, but he's also a high strikeout rate. So it wasn't really. It's not really like Joey Gallo, has not been taking advantage. He was never going to take advantage if he's not even going to touch the ball.
Right.
So in that case, I have to see more of the stats. I can't be able to come here and say, oh, this and that, because I haven't seen exactly how pull hitters have done. That was my theory before the season started. But in regards to the pitch clock, we have seen, like, for example, the biggest case is Alek Manoah. Like, the accelerating pace of the game probably threw him out of a loop.
That's a good one.
And now, like, he's making horrible decisions on pitching. He just, doesn't have the control he has. Probably he's having a bounce back. Like I said earlier, he had a good game. Now he has a bad game. So who knows if he's going to pick up the pace, but it seemed like he was, getting gas out of the pitch clock. So
because my thing I mean, I understand why the rule changes, especially, but the shift one was the one that really bothered me because I don't believe in restricting defenses. Yeah, I mean, Ted Williams had to go through it. That's like telling an NFL defense you can't do zone blitzing anymore because these quarterbacks can't figure it out. It's cheating. But I don't know. I mean, the stolen base thing is really bothering me because you literally manufactured, you fabricated a rule to create more stolen bases, and that's why the rule was made, right? It just rubs me the wrong way though. But as far as offense as a whole, let me show you here. Let me show you as soon as I can get my little. Why isn't this thing working the way I want it to work? There we go. There you are. Let me make this bigger. Let me show you here, man. So yeah, as you can see, stolen bases in 2023. This is Fangraphs. I mean, it's about to shatter a record, or not a record, but it's gonna be like a what is that? 6-year high, 6-season high. The previous high mark in the last 6 years was last year at 2,486 stolen bases. We're at 2,122 with a half season left to go. So we're getting there. But as you can see, everything else has pretty much stayed the same. The walk rate's the same. The players are still striking out at almost the same rate.
Yeah.
The BABIP, there's no like the batting average on balls in play, meaning that was the whole aspect. Like it was going to encourage more balls in play. Still the same. Batting average is about the same. On base percentage is about the same. Slugging percentage, weighted on base average, WRC plus is about the same. Everything has stayed the same except for stolen bases. And it makes me wonder, what was the point to all this? So, I mean, only other thing I could think of is, do we look at plate discipline numbers, which we could, but if you look at the pitching side of things too, if, strikeout route, still the same, about the same as it has been the last 6 seasons. Walk rate is about the same. The home run per 9 is about the same. BABIP against pitchers is about the same. 295 this year, but it's been hovering around 290 in the last 6 seasons anyway. I guess you could say, well, there you go. There's the proof that there's been improvement. Well, it was at 296 in 2019, but people are suggesting that was the year that the home run ball, the rabbit ball, remember that they manipulated the baseballs, the juice balls. Thank you. That was the year that started. So who knows? But I mean, ground ball rates are about the same. I don't know, man. And the velocity of a fastball has gone up regardless. So ERA is about the same. FIP has been the same. XFIP has about been the same. So I don't know, man. It just makes me wonder, what was the whole point to all this? Was it worth it at the end? And these are things that keep me up at night. You know what I mean? Like, did we really need to do this? I mean, the stolen bases, we see the big factor there, but everything else, it's like the same game that we've always seen, but except that it's faster.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like can you go down a bit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. Um,
This is hitters, by
well,
the way.
yeah, no, I got
Okay.
you. I mean, everything stayed the same. I don't know. I mean, home runs look like they're about the same pace. Runs also. So it's not really the only thing is actually, yeah, it's stolen bases. Like,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe stolen bases brings more money in social media, posting a stolen base. But
I will say this. It might are we on pace to get to 25,000 runs? Because that would be a big difference maker. Because as you can
well,
see in the
we're
last six
half away.
seasons,
We're half a game. Well, not half, but
more than half, a little bit more
a
than
little
half.
bit more than half.
Yeah.
So maybe so.
And
Maybe.
but again, we might. I mean, 3,488 home runs so far this season. We're a little bit past the halfway mark. We might get to 6,000 home runs when it's all said and done, like in 2019 without the juice balls. And so with all, despite all that, the hitters are still doing launch angles. They're still doing hitting for the fences. And teams still realize, yeah, stolen bases are nice, but the way to get more runs is by hitting more extra base hits, doubles, triples, and
Yeah.
home runs.
Oh
So
yeah, of course.
yeah. So I don't
Not
know.
everybody can be the 2015 Royals. So.
No. And that's another topic for another discussion. I still say that was so overblown because they still had like 5-6 guys who had 20 plus home runs that year.
Yeah.
And as you can see, fly ball rates are the same. I mean, everything's been the same. Hitters have not changed their approach that much, according to the
Do you feel
batted ball
like
rates.
maybe the BABIP increased a little bit from we were talking about that earlier. BABIP
Yep.
increased a little bit more than last time, but
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
like 298 on the juice ball. So
Right.
who knows? But I feel like maybe this is not like a immediate impact type of thing.
Mm.
Maybe this could cause a chain reaction in the future. Like maybe in 5 years, I'm just giving theory here.
Yeah.
In 5 years, maybe we're gonna see like, okay, look, everybody's striking out. We're not getting on base, regardless that the home run brings more runs than a hit on the immediate impact.
Right.
Maybe we're gonna switch to get more hits, get more on base, and steal more bases so we can advance runners.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That could
gonna
be the
be a
theory in the future, but
yeah, and like just like how people were telling me back in 2015, 2016, oh yeah, this is gonna the Royals have revolutionized the sport. Everybody's gonna go for this you know, create your own contact, create your own luck. You don't have to hit home runs, steal more bases. Well, the thing about the Royals is they took advantage of the ballpark that they were given. And I don't want to go into this thing about the Royals. Long story short, though, not a single team adopted that style. I mean, yeah,
went
because
the
on
other
the
way.
go ahead.
It went the other way. Like it went completely the opposite direction of what the Royals are doing. Like getting high contact and stuff. People are going for the fences. All the teams are wanting to hit home runs now.
Because sabermetrics and analytics took over the game completely. Like there was no, well, this is an analytics team and this is a traditional team. No, everybody is using some sort of statistical model or or some sort of technological marvel that they are instituting into their team and the way that they evaluate talent. Because I mean, think about all the teams that won the champ, and I think I've done this before too. But where I look at the playoff teams, or at least at the World Series contender, the championship series. But think of all the champions that have won. The Cubs, that's a very patient team. They're not gonna swing at every pitch to generate their own luck. That's Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, just waiting for that pitch that they can drive to the wall or over the fence, right? Who won in 2017? The Astros. Questionable how they won, but let's face it, the Astros, that's another team. Patient. We're not gonna swing at everything. We're gonna be a station to station team on the base pads. Who
We're
won in
gonna listen. We're gonna listen to the right pitch. That's what they did.
2018, the Red Sox, same model. 2019, the Nationals. I mean, Juan Soto. I rest my case. Juan Soto is like the ultimate analytics darling because he is not swinging and hacking at every pitch. He
Trey
knows.
Turner.
Oh, that's a great example. Trey Turner. You can even say Ryan Zimmerman, although Ryan Zimmerman was always a little bit on the aggressive side, but he wasn't. I mean, that guy's a pro hitter right there, like the Ben Zobrist type of hitter. So, so again, same old 2020, the Dodgers. It's the freaking Dodgers. It's like the complete opposite of the Kansas City Royals, if you're gonna go that route. 2021, who won it in 2021? Was it the Braves?
No, it was the
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the Braves.
It was the Braves. And that's a weird one. That's a weird one, but that's a team that kind of does a combination of both in a very superb way. Most importantly, they got a bunch of cheap players.
Yeah, but if you remember, like a lot of those players were like also like, go for the fences type of guy. Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario.
Yeah.
Like those
Jorge
they got
Soler.
rentals for that specific reason.
Adam
So,
Duvall. Yeah, good
yeah,
point
exactly.
there. Who won it last year? My memory's kind of
The
hazy.
Astros.
Oh, come on. So yeah, no one's following the Royals model from 2015 unless they're absolutely desperate for that. And the last thing I want to show you as this ended up not being a thing about the rest of the league. So I don't know how we're gonna do this to finish up here, but
Yeah.
I had a feeling this is gonna go off a tangent. But as you can see, swing rates outside the zone swing rate is still the same. Swing percentages, players are at 47% still, just like they have been hovering for the most part in the last 6 seasons. Contact rates, that was going to be a thing, right? I mean, we hear from all the pundits, oh, these new rules are going to increase contact rates. Hitters are going to be more prevalent to get these contact rates up. It's about the same. It's actually lower. The outside the zone contact rate is lower than last year. Strike zone, inside the strike zone contact rate, it's about the same from last year. Overall contact rate, it's still hovering at 76% since 2018. Called strike plus swinging percentage, these are the either your calls you're called a strike on or you're swinging at a strike and whiffing. Yeah, that's what it was. Call strike plus whiff percentage. 27.6%, just like last year, 27.5, and like in 2021, 27.7. Nothing has changed. But we'll see in the next 2 seasons if these rule changes actually create a new revolution. But as of right now, halfway through this season, it's all the same.
Well, we also got to consider this. Like, I mean, the rule changes from what I remember, they were not like, before opening day type of thing, but they were relatively new. So teams were building already on the base, on the knowledge and stats and the facts that they had.
True.
A lot of previous years. So again, like I was saying earlier, it looks all the same, but it's the same thing as, going on a diet or doing something new.
Yeah.
You have all this old knowledge. You gotta, transform it to something new. At the start, it's gonna look, you're not doing any changes. You're not doing a lot of the things. Maybe in the clubhouse, minor leagues, or something like that. Those are the changes that are looking, and it's gonna transform little by little when they bring up those players. But at the moment right now, like you were saying, it looks the same. Like it looks like nothing that the MLB has tried was changing the approach that teams are doing. So
yeah, and that was my whole argument with the 2015 Royals. Like, yeah, you got 29 other teams that have not built their team in this way, and the ones who have been failures. I mean, the Orioles, you could put them in that sentiment too. That was a very swing happy, generate as much contact as they can, borderline small ball type of team, and they were complete failures until this new regime took over last year or 2 years ago. I don't know when they took over, but that's when we started seeing the Jordan Westbergs, Adley Rushmans of the world come up into that system. But yeah, they I mean, you think about guys like Adam Jones, very swing happy guy, and I don't know. I mean, Adam Jones is not a guy that people are going to remember unless you really. I'm just being honest. Unless you make a real effort. But my point is, even then, teams saw the 2015 Royals, and most of the teams decided, no, that's not sustainable. We're not going to do that. We're not going to change our whole philosophy just so we can be a copycat league, so become the Royals. No, what they did take was you get cheap players, you get cheap bullpen arms, and just do what you can at starting pitcher. And maybe you could do that. I mean, like, you could say the Cubs kind of did that then following year, but their bullpen wasn't lights out.
yeah.
But the starting pitching was pretty darn good. Anyway, we're gonna go back to renaming all the champions.
And just to bring a point before we go back to everything on the total basis Champions League. I was looking at the highlights of those 2015 Royals recently. Most of the games that they won in the playoffs were, mistakes from the like really bad errors. The
Yeah.
collision on the wall and that wild card game for the A's led to extra innings. The Carlos Correa jump ball that caused them to go, to a 7 inning runs on that game 4 on the ALDS on that year. The Mets not knowing how to, contain Eric Hosmer on third
Yeah.
cost them the World Series that year. So it's like a lot of that stuff really depended on other teams not doing their job, not really you making your own luck. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
I felt from what I was thinking right now, you saying and watching those highlights, that
Mhm.
was probably something that could bring up.
Yeah, and like again, we can talk about that to the
Yeah.
Costco home, but let's I already tagged Matt Nyland on that on his team, Korea's ankle plate.
Yeah.
And well, this is the according to the standings, this is the dead last team right here. I could just do this. Yeah, they're 4-10 at the moment. They're considered the dead last place. But let's be positive about it. Let's start with his hitters. Is there a player you want to highlight on a positive note here?
Mookie Betts.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you think
This
with
is the
Mookie
easy one
Betts,
there.
you
Austin
think if
Hayes has been good. He's been an all-star too. Last year I had him. He was disappointing at the start of the year. Then he picked it up right after I dropped him. Now he's, I regret the day that I dropped him also. But
and
Austin Hayes probably is the one that has been. I think if you look at, I'm not mistaken. I heard Bobby Witt Jr. has been doing really well recently too.
I've been okay. I've been content with him in my other league. Let's see, Bobby Witt Jr. 250 on average, 290 on base. I'm not happy about that. This is one reason why I don't want to go off another tangent about stolen base guys. But yeah, 16 counting stats wise, 16 home runs, 27 stolen bases. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're happy with that. But this is the stuff that makes me very unhappy. 290 on
Yeah.
base percentage is for a guy like him with the high ceiling and the first round pedigree. I expect more skill set to be showing off there. And no, he's playing like a one-dimensional player, which that's not
And
what
plus, he
Bobby
looks
Witt
like
is.
he has a lot of injuries too on this bench.
He has so many injuries that he doesn't even know who to use on his last IL slot. Oh no. Here we go, Nyland. No, horrible drafting. I went in thinking, what would Felipe do? And it ended up being, what would Felipe do after a fifth of vodka and 3 blunts? Blame it on the alcohol, man. Blame it on because I got high. Well, let's see. Who in here would have been a Felipe pick? I guess Bobby Witt Jr. would have been a Felipe pick. Disgruntledly speaking, of course.
Austin Hayes.
No, I wouldn't be drafting him. I do like TJ Friedel, but I wouldn't have drafted Mookie Betts. Yeah, I would have drafted him. Dalton Varsho. Yeah, I would have been guilty as charged. And I still say that the Blue Jays won that trade. I don't care. I'm a big Dalton Varsho mark. I will never give up on him. But yeah, next year, I don't think he's going to be catching eligible next year. So rest in peace, Dalton Varsho. My infatuation with Dalton Varsho. I guess Jose Altuve would have been a pick of mine if I got him for the right price. Joey Votto. Well, let's go to the pitching. And Shane McClanahan, I guess, for the right price, I would have gone after him. Tash Bradley would have been a back end pick for me if it was up to me. Oh, Devin Williams for sure. I would have been all over him if I had the chance.
Alexis Diaz too.
But yeah, I guess this would be me on a fifth of vodka and 5 blunts. Yeah, for sure. but so Mookie Betts is a positive. Who's been a big disappointment for his pitching staff here, in your eyes?
Man, that's a hard one. I mean,
Yeah, it's
probably Max Fried because he hasn't pitched. He picked him really high. I guarantee you he's picked him really high and for 26 innings.
That's
a blow.
That's a big blow. Although I don't think he drafted him. I think he was available. Let me see. Does it show the transaction?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Drafted 4th round. That stings.
I was complaining about not Garrett Cole's Colvin Burns inconsistency, but at least he's pitched all year. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, availability is sometimes the most important thing out there. So that's Nyland's team. Oh God, I guess we should go ahead and summon this guy. As soon as it loads. We're gonna talk about his team. Let's talk about a negative on the hitting side. I got to do all this. I see he has. I mean, when you look at Melvin's team, Super City, bitch. When you look at Melvin's team, it is full of guys who have been not living up to par. You know, here he is. Pete Alonso with a 308 on base percentage. Jake Cronenworth with a 306 on base percentage. Trey Turner, definitely a major disappointment. I mean, Bobby Witt is doing better than he is. Well, about the same. I don't know. And then, of course, he'll do. There's Melvin's churning and burning the roster, and then Cody Bellinger right there. Who, man, when Cody Bellinger is your best hitter, it seems like. Well, Austin Riley. Geez, Austin Riley. I don't know. Are we happy with Austin Riley and his 333 on base percentage?
Well, if you look at the last 15, last 30, he's
Yeah.
been killing it. But and overall in the season, it looks like a little bit, kind of underwhelming for now, but he could pick it up like type of Juan Soto, second half stretch, offensive implosion. So
Yeah. And to his credit, he's kept hope alive on Lars Nootbaar. I double check. Is he a waiver wire pickup or did he draft him? He actually did draft him.
you can touch him if you touch his name, Lars Nootbaar.
Mhm.
You can see where he picked him up.
No, I know well, okay, let's take a look really quick. 19th. So that's a steal. That's actually a better pickup than the Cody Bellinger pick. Eloy Jimenez, this is me, the Birdman gif that I like to use, like, oh yeah, where he kind of rubs his hands together. I'm just waiting for him to drop Eloy Jimenez again. Come on, come home to daddy. I'm representing the White Sox today. Come home to daddy. And Melvin has an open spot available, so let's make sure he uses that. Pitching side, again, this is not a pitching rotation that's going to scare anyone. He's been churning and burning that rotation to the ground, but I'll give him credit. He did pick up some really good guys that I like in Cutter Crawford, even Josh Winkowski. I kind of been keeping an eye on him to see what the Red Sox do with him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a secure role because he's just a rubber arm for him, and it's good for real baseball and not good for fantasy baseball. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is not a. I mean, let me check the last RotoWires recently quickly here.
Sure.
It's not something that with all due respect, nothing that scares me.
No, but hey, you know what? He's beating the crap out of me this week, so he finally gets a win against me after 4 matches. So good job, Melvin. Let's move on to the next team since we're gonna go with AJ Auto Draft Assemble. As soon as that loads up, as you know, AJ last year he was one of 2 or 3 teams that won an auto draft last year, and he dominated for a big chunk of the season, as you remember.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was his team kind of fizzled at the end. And I know that he was going through some things last year, so this might not have been something that was high priority for him, but the results are the results, and I can't do much about that. But let's see, any hitter that you want to talk about on his lineup right now? I mean, right off the bat, Fernando Tatis
In
Jr.
terms of
shows up.
platoon, I mean, I'm a big, I'm a big Tampa Bay
Yeah.
homer. Howard Ramirez is a big platoon guy.
Mhm.
Like, he gives the versatility of playing first and right field. You can put him, on a corner infield type of player, first base, on a right field. So that's a pretty good pickup there. But in terms of production, I'm surprised that Adolis Garcia is on the bench, but I guess he was injured.
Yeah, he's listed as day-to-day. What's wrong with him? Let's find out. X-rays came back clean on Garcia's right hand after he was hit by a pitch Saturday. Garcia will continue to be evaluated, but looks as though the Rangers have avoided a big scare. The dynamic 30-year-old outfielder took a 98-mile-per-hour fastball to the hand in the bottom of the 4th inning Saturday against the Dodgers. So, yeah, that's a good reason to have him. But
yeah, I mean, Bryson Stott is looking good. So that's a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, it's a good pickup. In terms of the rate stats, he has a high on base percentage and a high batting average. Not much in the county stat department.
16 stolen bases and 9 homers. That's pretty good.
I was looking at the wrong way. Yeah, that's pretty good. 9 home runs, 16 stolen bases. Hey, you know what? He's doing better than Julio Rodriguez.
Oh my gosh.
Tell you that much. Pitching, pitching is pretty. I like it. I mean, I'm a big Joe Ryan fan. Okay, I see what's wrong here. Well, all right, yeah. He's taking a wait and see approach on Carlos Rodon. He still has him on the injured list, but now he has Kyle Freeland on the injured list. That needs to go on the injured list. I'm sorry. But yeah, outside of Joe
He should
Ryan,
put, he should put in Jenny or Cano. He's been lights out.
no, he's in there. He's a
Oh no, he's
reliever.
in there. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I caught him like 2 or 3 weeks after I picked him up. Like, man, this guy's been exposed, and then he's back to being lights out again. So that nasty change that the Cano has, but it's all been for naught as this team has been really struggling. They're at the bottom of the standings, and you can see
Yeah.
why. So let's go to my guy Ricky Velasquez. I just saw him recently.
Ricky
Velasquez at 6-8, and it seems like he's been kind of a hard luck more than anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when things that could go wrong will go wrong with the poor guy. But I remember we looked at his team at the beginning of the season, and I thought it was a pretty darn good team. But let's find out what the issue is. Oh, there's the issue. You're depending on a White Sox player. There it is. That's it. That's the no. I didn't realize that Corey Seager went back on the IL. That's a shame. But yeah, Luis Robert. Yeah, that's the dangers of the homer pick, man. The dangers of the homer picks. I like Jordan Walker pickup, but yeah, depending on a rookie like that, he's no Ellie De La Cruz. I can tell you that much. So yeah, his offense. I mean, I don't know. Is there any bright spots you see? Because I'm not seeing any on offense.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe luck, because he's having bad luck right now. Because this looks like a really good lineup. It's just
I
I
don't
don't know
think
what's
so.
Orlando Arcia has been probably the brightest spot.
Yeah, and Juan Soto. I
Who
mean,
would have thought dropping Dansby Swanson and picking up another Gold Glover?
for the
Another
Braves.
Gold Glover, sorry, All-Star. So
Yeah. That's. I mean, the Braves. I mean, it's the Braves, man. They that's why they're the one of the best, if not the very best team in the National League. Juan Soto's on its team, but there's an example where Juan Soto can't do everything for you. As well, and Manny Machado, which as a Manny Machado guy myself, I've been disappointed with his. Although he's been turning it on lately, so
this is the Chicago Padres,
the Chicago South Side Padres. Yeah, over to the pitching side. Mike Clevenger. Is this someone who has not been keeping an eye on his roster? I think looks like Ricky has checked out, which or is he coming back soon? I don't know. I'm only looking at what his lineup's going to look like next week. Yeah, it looks like Ricky has checked out, man. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, and then remember everybody was saying, "Oh, if this is a money league, we'd take it more seriously." Okay, well, this is you guys taking it more seriously, I guess. I don't know. That's disappointing to see that Mike Clevenger's still on the starting rotation for this guy. All right, let's move on then. Bob, there's a guy who will always try. I know this because his teams might be terrible, but he'll always try. Bob from Indiana, also 6-8, but he got out to a really bad start. I like what he had to say about his team recently. It says on the chat, he mentioned something about, all right, well, it's been an uphill battle, but the next couple of weeks are going to be crucial to see if my team is going to make some noise and get one of those final 4 spots for the playoffs. So he's not cashing it in. He's not, mailing it in or whatever the saying goes. He's actually trying really hard. And, again, not the most impressive lineup, but again, this is an example where one guy can carry you, and that's Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just trying to see Masataka just cheated. We expected him to be pretty good coming from Japan, but
Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier too. Actually, it's been not as and in terms of the average, I thought it was gonna be way worse.
Yeah.
So I thought it's gonna be 210, 290 on base percentage. It's been pretty good for what the Blue Jays bought him for. So
yeah, but this looks like a team that kind of has been just restructuring his entire lineup. You know what I mean? It's just been restructuring the entire lineup. And again, as long as he has Shohei Ohtani and Masataka Yoshida, I mean, it's those are 2 really good players to build your team around. And Ozzy Albies for the counting stats, I guess, although I see that the stolen bases have gone down. And that's despite the fact that we have all these rule changes as we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the offense outside of those 2 Japanese players, it doesn't really scare me. But I'm what does scare me is the fact that Bob is really, really trying still. So, and here's the pitching staff, which I mean, there's a problem. You got Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander at the top,
Yeah.
and
Who would have thought like those two will struggle mightily this
they're
year?
not that bad. I mean, you see
Yeah.
their numbers, their rate stats, and it's not that bad. But they've been hurt. Scherzer got suspended, and also posting a 4.20 ERA.
Yeah.
So again, those are two top 12 starting pitchers that I was avoiding because they're old. They're coming in in a situation with the Mets that I wasn't 100% sure of. So I don't know, but yeah, this has potential, but it's definitely feels like that he's been let down by some established names.
I mean, he's gonna try. Like I'm like you were saying, he's gonna try. He's gonna bring some low key waiver wire 30-day. On the last 30 days, he's been hitting 500 and 600 on base percentage. He's gonna pick it up and he's gonna put him on his team, and that will carry him for the rest of the year. But as for now, I mean, it's been a struggle with him. Like for him has been a struggle with keeping consistency on his numbers, but he tries. So
Craig Kimbrell, comeback player of the year.
eh.
That's the guy.
I'll pick Kenley Jensen.
That's spoken like a true fantasy baseball manager. We go from Bob's team to the Arizona Pendejos. That's Corey Decker's team, and that's a battle of mid-card teams, mid-level teams, not to
Mid.
shortchange mid
Even the
teams.
matchup is mid.
Yeah, and not because I'm insulting either. That literally the records are kind of matching. Where Corey is 7-7 versus Bob's team, which is 6-8. But Corey's team is an enigma because it shows that he should be doing much better than what he has shown so far. And for whatever reason, I don't know, he's kind of missing something to take that next step. But Paul Goldschmidt still brings the goods. Trying to see if there's anybody. Luis Garcia, that's a mistake. I don't know why he's on anybody's fantasy team. Corbin Carroll, that was his the big reach that he had earlier in the year. It looks like it was going to work out for him at the beginning, and it's kind of I don't know. I mean, Corbin Carroll,
I feel it paid off. In hindsight's 2020. I don't see it as bad anymore. Let's be honest. He has delivered.
He has delivered, but it's still you could have gotten him the price that he paid, right? It all boils down to the price that he paid. I think he was a 3rd-round pick, and I will have to see where everybody manager unlikely to trade, but one team is interested. That's pretty cool. I never noticed that before. 27. Oh my God, 3rd-round pick. I thought he was a 4th-round pick. He's a 3rd-round pick. So no, I do remember that he was a 3rd round. I thought he could have gotten in the 4th round, but okay. So now it sounds like I'm nitpicking. Whatever, it's fine.
At least he has Ronald Acuna, which is a great pick. So
and Bryce Harper, that was the reason why I thought his team could be scary because of these two guys right here, especially Bryce Harper when he comes back.
I thought Jake McNeil was going to do better too.
Yeah, the Team USA's starting second baseman. It's been a kind of a letdown.
Chapman has been doing pretty well than before. So
yeah, but regression is biting him in the butt, because these numbers right here, the batting average and the on base percentage were much higher than that at the beginning of the season. He was the best player in all of baseball at one point, according to Fangraph's definition of wins above replacement. And it's a solid bench here, but obviously you can't start everybody. The fact that Brandon Nimmo is on the bench is kind of weird to see. But here we are.
I didn't notice this. Jalen Duran has been having a pretty good stretch.
Yeah, there was a month's stretch though where he was awful. Yeah, I picked him up, and of course I pick him up, and he forgets how to hit. And then I drop him, and then he remembers how to hit. And just to let Corey know, he does. Oh, I forgot to tag him. Oops, he's probably not even going to be available to watch this. But reminder to Corey Decker that he does have an open bench spot. Let's look at it pitching. Zach Allen, I'm a big fan.
Oh, Blake Snell has been lights out recently.
Yeah, he's picked up the pace, but other than that, not
Stroman too.
Yeah, Marcus Stroman. I mean, we were high on him coming into the season. I can't believe. Well, I can't believe. I do believe that I whiffed on him because I had other pitchers that I liked much better than him. But yeah, he's been pretty darn good for him. He's been solid. But the rest of it is kind of like meh, you know.
Michael Lorenzen, I mean this all-star questionable pick too.
Yeah,
It's pretty. This looks like a pretty good rotation
I don't
outside
like
of the bullpen.
it's
But
okay. It's top heavy.
yeah,
It's top heavy. The bullpen. I mean, I guess if you David Robertson is like it should be viewed as the same way that we see Kenley Jansen, like he's ageless. You know, I've never been a big fan of Gregory Soto. I don't know why he holds on to that, but there must be a reason for that. And Ty
Holtz?
Adcock must be new. I don't know much about him. You got me
Yeah.
deer in headlights right now, but he has no saves or holds. So anyway, that's Corey's team. Should be better, but for some reason it's not. I don't know why. I mean, we know why, but we don't know why it can't be better. Here's a team. Corey, the other Corey, both Corys are 7-7 in this season so far. The other Corey Richmond from New York, big Cleveland Browns fan that he is. I think he might be a Guardians fan too. Got off to a really good start. And Austin and I were in private chats. We were talking to each other about Richmond's team, and we're like,
I was surprised.
I don't get it because the Roto standings had him very low, but he was winning. Like I think he went 5-2 to start the year off, right? And the thing I told Austin, just wait. It's gonna come back down to earth. This team's not that good. I don't like it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He's 7-7. But yeah, this team's look at him. You know, he learned his lesson. I'm not letting Felipe get Christian Encarnacion Strand. So he's gonna go with that. He does have De La Cruz, Brian De La Cruz.
He's a cousin.
Yeah, right.
This seems like it's not. He has Jordan Alvarez on the IL now.
Yeah.
That would have been that probably was what was carrying him. Bregman has not had he has an okay season.
Yeah, that's not why you draft Bregman though. Unfortunately, I know this because I had him last year and I was just very disappointed. But of course, you have Spencer Steer on the bench, but you can't bench Bregman.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, depending on matchups, but let me see.
I mean, I would have left Encarnacion Strand on the bench just to see how he does and then bring him up. So
And Bregman has some tough pitching to face next week with the Rangers and the Rays.
Yeah.
And Spencer Steer. I mean, I guess that's not easy, but those 3 games in Milwaukee against a team that he's probably seen numerous times, that would be more favorable. Here, I'm giving away advice. Just do what I but you know, nobody's gonna do what I say because I'm not gonna do what Felipe says. Screw that guy. I will say this about Corey Richmond. Excuse me, as the coffee is giving me indigestion here. He missed out on Ellie De La Cruz, but he has Ellie De La Cruz's clone and O'Neal Cruz. I always think that Ellie De La Cruz would be O'Neal Cruz if O'Neal Cruz had a little bit of skill to his game. And I mean that, as you know, Angel, and for those who have listened to this podcast, I do things binary, right? You either are super athletic or you're just super skillful. They're opposite sides of the spectrum, and the goal is to try to go somewhere in between, and merge these two attributes together to get the ultimate baseball player. A good example is Mike Trout or Ronald Acuna, right? We talked about him recently. Just kind of, control the athleticism and refine those skills, and you get a really, really good player. O'Neal Cruz is on the I'm super athletic type spectrum, and he's trying to figure things out in the majors to get that skill set, and it hasn't worked out for him. And now he's hurt because the guy only goes one way or only, and has 100 miles an hour, full speed ahead, which is something that we love about him. But at any rate, pitching. I mean,
pitching looks good.
I mean, right off the bat, those names: Dylan Cease, Garrett Cole, but Dylan Cease comes with a 131 WHIP and a 404 ERA, so he's been a letdown. Hunter Brown, after getting off to a really good start, has not been very well. And oh my God, my daughter, hi baby,
Hi,
say hi. He snuck in. Go to mama. Andale. No, I want to see what Daddy's doing. And then Yuri Perez, Tanner Bibby. So I'll give Richmond credit. These are two guys, Tanner Bibby and Yuri Perez, that we've been heralding very highly on this podcast. So at least in that regard, he's paying attention. Or maybe he knew about these guys regardless. I mean, he is a Guardians fan, I believe. So Tanner Bibby's on the team. Emmanuel Clase, he's been, and Josh Hader too. I see that he copied my strategy from last year in hopes that it works for him this year. And Clase for about a month has been really struggling. Yeah. Anybody else that you want to talk about on the pitching side of things for Richmond?
Jason Adam, the last pitcher that you didn't mention that is active, pretty good pickup on terms of relief. He, gets you the save occasionally. He gets you the hold occasionally. So whenever he comes, he delivers. So that's when the Rays bring him, it means, we have a ninth inning implosion or a win. So that's a good thing to know when Jason Adam comes. Like, at least we got the lead. So he has a good pickup there.
Richmond's relief core, I want to point out, kind of looks like my relief, a combination of relievers that I had last year, especially in this league. I did have Clase and Hader on the same team, I believe. And then Jason Adam, I had to pick him up late in the year because Hader was so bad and David Bednar was so bad at the end. So yeah. So I see Richmond's strategy is on the pitching side of things is to see if he can emulate Felipe's squad. So that is Richmond's team. Let's move on to the next team here. What was the next team here really quick? Oops, I did not go to the standings. The standings are right here. Oh boy, I wish Austin was here, but obviously he had technical difficulty, so he couldn't make it this morning. But I think if he were here, he would say how disappointed his team is. He is in his team. And I saw that he's been starting to fall in the roto standings. Do you have those roto standings up and running or no?
I got it here.
What's his overall standing right now?
Give me one moment.
Well, at any rate, he's in looks like he's in 5th place with an 8-6 record. So he's on the outside looking in those last 4 playoff spots.
So on the last week's overall, he was 1 second. He was 6th.
He was 6th. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not what I'm used to hearing, but let's take a look. What could have gone wrong with this team? And Christian Walker, I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest Christian Walker fan here.
No, I picked him up on our fan chats league. I've been okay with it. Yeah, I live with giving up other the people that I gave out for him, but
and then there's John Birdie, who I'm not impressed. I've never been impressed with him, and I don't care that he has 11 stolen bases. Rate stats are fantastic. I wish Nico Horner could do this, but Yanni Diaz has been like,
that's basically the Tampa Bay Rays core without Randy Arozarena
and Wander Franco, and Isaac Paredes, wow, I didn't realize. So you know what it is with him? It's if the Tampa Bay Rays are doing well, his team is going to do well. But when they're not, these are the results: 8-6 record, and I could only imagine a very frustrated Austin Spiro here. AJ saying, "Give me my trophy now." Like, no, do better. Your team sucks. Just talked about your team. Brian Reynolds has been a major disappointment. I've never liked Brian Reynolds, but people were so impressed. Like he's a good player on a really bad team. You know who he reminds me of? He's Ricky Davis from the NBA. Remember Ricky Davis?
The guy that was batching LeBron before he came in.
Yeah, the guy who tried to miss on his own basket so he can get the last rebound.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
for a triple double. That's who Brian Reynolds is. Stephen Kwan, I know that him and Sean fell in love with him, but I wasn't impressed. I mean, there's aspects of Stephen Kwan's game that I really, really, really like, but for fantasy purposes, I don't think it's sustainable. And he basically got 2 guys who do the same thing, who have a very high hit tool, but we don't know if anything else, any aspect of their game is real. The 15 stolen bases is nice, it looks like. But yeah, I would not have gone after 2 guys who do the same thing in Stephen Kwan and Brian Reynolds. But then my offense might be better. So who knows? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Me up a little bit. What was really high on?
Yeah,
I'm probably not the best comparison. Kind of like Cedric Mullins.
Like who?
Cedric Mullins from the Orioles.
Who does
Like
he
he had
remind you
that
of?
really 30 year. Since then, he has been like inconsistent on injuries and
Yeah.
falling off a bit. So that kind of I mean, and now the Orioles are good. So who knows if he picks it up again?
Yeah.
But Brian Reynolds, has been like he was like a potential 30-30 guy. And since then, he has not been living up to that expectation and wanted like a
Yeah.
500 million contract.
I've never seen him as a 30-30 guy. I mean, he's a nice player, but this is one of those times where the Pirates should have sold high on him and gotten whatever
Yeah.
they could from return. I know that would have
Send him
been
to
a
the
very
Yankees.
Vince Mercandetti would have been super ecstatic. He might have been locked up in his room pleasuring himself for 6 hours just if that move would have been made. But it wasn't, and maybe they dodged the bullet. I don't know. But yeah, I've never liked Brian Reynolds as a franchise player.
Yeah.
Definitely don't like him in as a core player in fantasy baseball. But let's keep in mind that Aaron Judge, as soon as he comes back, this might be a different team altogether. As
Yeah.
you know, Aaron Judge was the guy who saved my season from total collapse last year en route to a championship. So maybe the same thing. Here's a thing. Starting pitcher. Got both Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, which again, those guys, number 3 and number 4 on my starting pitching list. And Austin's the guy who has been helping me create these spreadsheets that I like to work on in the offseason. So sure enough, he probably saw the projections that I had given him. The only thing that we did different was that we were going to create our own rankings, because we don't use the projections numbers as Bible. We use it as a gauge in thinking, well, is this player going to actually reach these levels? Will he go higher or will he go lower? And I guess for Austin, for him, it was a no-brainer to get both Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. But there's been some mixed results. Aaron Nola with the 4.27 ERA. But
look at the bench.
For the rotation, yeah, Sandy Alcantara. I know he was
Who
very
would have
high
thought
on.
that?
I was not high on Sandy Alcantara coming into the season. If he wasn't going to strike out too many guys, then it just was pointless to have him on the team. And Sean was a guy that really believed in Alcantara, that he was a real deal and that the strikeouts would go up. Obviously, Austin thought the same way. And Sandy can't get off his bench now.
Let's keep in mind Sean is a Mets fan, so he sees him more often than us. So probably he was.
And I kind of begrudgingly had Sandy on my top 10, but I wasn't 100% sure but again, that's one of those guys that, top 12 pitcher, I'm avoiding. I'm not touching that. Logan Gilbert's a guy that I like a lot with the Mariners, and he's been kind of, the numbers are nice, but he's been kind of up and down. Joe Musgrove is a reliable starter, but he's not, I don't feel like he's as dominant as he has been the last couple of years. Too. Yeah, he's finally healthy now, but and again, we're nitpicking, right? I mean, this is a Joe Musgrove 114 whip, Logan Gilbert 104 whip, even Sandy Alcantara 128 whip. I mean, that's not good, but it's not too bad. Dylan Floro, he got him for the saves, but I wouldn't pick up Dylan Floro. 4.74 ERA, 153 whip. That's red flag right there. I'm not doing that.
Gallegos too.
I'm sorry, who? Oh, Gallegos. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice combination player. He gets the saves and the holds, but it comes with a 4.05 ERA.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
I'm not that. I feel like this just been underperforming. Maybe in the second half, now that we're starting the second half, things can change around for like the Phillies pitchers, and you get Sandy back at least to some form of Cy Young competition. So.
Yeah,
for now it's a little bit frustrating. I can see it. So
yeah, that's exactly it. It's been a frustrating season for Austin. And when I talk to him, it makes it sound like his team is such in bad shambles, but he's 8-6.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but there's something. I think everything gets alleviated once Aaron Judge comes back, and once that happens, oh my God, watch out. AJ, my mom thinks my team is good. Well, your mom is wrong. You're dead wrong. Who's this team? Oh, this is
Alfred Pitchclock.
That's a good
Carlos Borges.
I'd say that's a really good name. So I would put the top tier Alfred Pitchclock. That's a top tier name. You know what's bottom tier?
Yeah.
They see me rolling and they hating. That's a really bad team name right there.
You're welcome.
it's not as bad as that's that Angels team in the baseball life league, by the way. That's his name. They see me roll and they hate. It's not as bad as I'm here for the Marte Parte, or you bets I'm winning the Marte Parte, whatever.
That was I don't understand that one.
Yeah, well, it's James Hannibal who's been really struggling this year as well. Shout out to Jacob who's tuning in this late in the afternoon. Appreciate it, brother, for the support. When's the Step Back podcast coming back? That's what I want to know. Who's this again? Oh, this is Carlos. This is Carlos's team.
Carlos was really hitting a stride, and now he's a little bit. I'm actually facing him this week, so hopefully I don't collapse on my last day. So
yeah, he's been a victim of some close games. He's been the benefactor and the victim, I should say, because I see that he beat Austin 12-11 last week in the last matchup. And again, that's part of Austin's frustration is like, I'm losing these close games too. But I was the benefactor because I faced Alfred or Carlos's team before this, and I barely beat him 12-11.
Yeah.
So, but it's not a good look when you're barely beating teams, right? But this is Alfred's. Sorry, his name is Carlos. This is Carlos's team, and he's been very patient with Francisco Alvarez. It looks like let's really take a look. I would be super impressed if he drafted him or he picked them up like 6 weeks ago. Added via free agency on May 14th. So kudos to Carlos for being extremely patient on a rookie catcher.
I mean, to be fair, the catcher market is not that at a premium. So you can get 19 homers and 41 RBIs from your catching position. I'll take that.
Yeah. And Travis d'Arnaud was the other guy. So a little bit of a Mets fandom going on there. Yeah, even ex-players who played on your favorite team. That's a homer pick in my book there. I said it. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, this is not. I look at the names on this list, and it's not as good as his team from last year. His last year's team was pretty damn good. Like,
yeah, he was first.
Yeah, well, we only built him up to watch him fall in the playoffs now, didn't we? But this is the problems with the homer picks. Francisco Lindor, starting shortstop, 226 average, 314 on base. Yeah, 19 home runs, 15 stolen bases, but at this price of your low rate stats, that wouldn't fly in Felipe's team. I would be so pissed off right now. Outfield is a work in progress. I mean, when you pick up guys like Jorge Soler and Mickey Moniak, that tells me that something really bad happened to your outfield. Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker's been pretty good.
Yeah, same with Josh Lowe, getting off to a much better start than he did last year, but still, that's a 316 on base percentage.
Yeah, Josh Lowe has been going down. I mean, being a Rays fan, it just looks bad. Jose Siri, all the love in the world.
Yeah,
I believe he's a better version of Kevin Kiermaier in a sense, but offensively is way overrated. Rays fans are overrating him a lot. 20 homers, yes, but look at his rate stats. That's just yikes.
No, like, the reason you get a Jose Siri is for defensive purposes.
Yeah, and you get all the offense that you can get, right? So at least for now, we're seeing that Kevin Kiermaier for the last 5 years, he wasn't as offensively good as this. So we're getting it for a better price, So
right. But I mean, I've just seen the struggles of these race players and maybe some nasty regression taking place, and you can see why they have been struggling since they got off to a really hot start. And unfortunately for you and your team, your favorite team on Major League Baseball, you guys are basically the punching bags of baseball. Oh, see, we told you they weren't that good. Yeah, but they also lost a bunch of pitchers. Their bullpen is still a work in progress.
I mean, when you listen, like if you see the games, when you list that much of a pitchers and you have to rely on bullpen by committee, a lot, it's really hard. Like it's really hard to keep leads on when you're relying on a bullpen by committee. Most of the time, you get a starter that pitches 2 innings, and then you get a reliever hopefully that goes 7 innings or 5 innings. So it's like
3 if you're lucky.
What can you do?
No, and Sean and I, we looked at that. We looked at, because we always have high regard for the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen. And this year, when we did the difference in performance last year and this year at the All-Star break, we were kind of shocked that Rays were at the bottom of the were a bottom tier on their bullpen, and that's not a sight that we're used to seeing. But
Yeah.
a lot of injuries, and they finally catch up. It's not easy to build these pitchers, build them up from scrap and mold them into your image, into the way you want them to perform. They just have been making it look easy the last few years. That I guess people are just spoiled. But let's look at the pitchers. Reed Detmers, I believe I drafted him. I don't remember. Let's find out. Oh no, Suplex City drafted him. But I know I drafted him in the other two leagues for sure.
Yeah.
So and of course he drafted him, and about a month later, 2 months later, he gives up on him because actually that's good. That's for good reason. But 122 strikeouts and 96 innings pitched. That's pretty damn good. And so Carlos is happy with those results. Julio Urias, only 75 innings pitched. In this regard, you might get a sense that, hey, maybe there is a thing to that whole pitcher should not be playing in the World Baseball Classic, because Julio Urias did not look very
Yeah, he
consistent.
bad on the World Baseball Classic.
Well, I was gonna say that there's been stretches, Viva Mexico, by the way. There's been stretches where he looked dominant, absolute dominant. And then there was like innings, 1 or 2 innings in a couple of his starts where he looked like garbage.
Hey, look, I'm just gonna say it. Being a Puerto Rican here, if it wasn't for Alexis Diaz blowing the Mexico game, Julio Urias would have been credited with a loss that day. So just
Yeah,
saying.
he would have been the scapegoat, not the goat, but the scapegoat. But yeah, I'm a big fan of George Kirby, despite
Zach
the fact.
Eflin, wow.
Yeah,
He has been good for the Rays.
we loved him. Sean and I, we loved him going into the race. For some reason, it just where did I rank them? It didn't work out. I didn't get any Zach Eflin on any of my teams. Where did I have him? I had Zach Eflin as my 80th best pitcher, a starting pitcher, sandwiched between Alex Wood and Ross Stripling. So yeah, I guess I undervalue him too much, because I ended up getting Ross Stripling in a couple of my leagues, or the Baseball Life League, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Zach Eflin has been really consistent, and in spite of McClanahan struggling or our pitching woes and injury woes, Zach Eflin has been one of our brightest spots picking him up last year. So,
And
or this year actually.
and of course he has Bailey Over, who I'm a big fan of Bailey Over. The bullpen, Clay Holmes, John Duran, Will Smith, that's a solid threesome.
That's a good rotation.
And still got AJ Puke on the bench. AJ Puck, I should say. Puke or Puck, I always forget. So really good rotation. Not as good as mine though, I'll say that much. But really, whose is, right? So that's a dangerous team to look at, especially for us being in the top two. My team being so bad the last 3 weeks or so, even with that win against Carlos, I didn't feel too good about it. And then the last team, probably the hottest team in this league, the South. What the hell was his name? The South Cac Flapjacks. That's a name.
That's a whore.
But that's Kevin Miller's team. Braves fan from South Carolina. I invited him to be on the show. He didn't show up. But let me make sure I tag him. What's his name? Kevin. Yeah. And that was a guy I was afraid of before he even made a pick. I was afraid to bring into this league because I knew that he would bring the goods. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and he got out to a really slow start. But when I looked at his team at the beginning of the year, I'm like, this is just a case of bad luck. I mean, Freddie Freeman is on the team. JT Real Muto, although the 304 on base isn't going to wow anybody, but still 11 stolen bases from a catcher. You'll take that. Marcus Semien, Nolan Arenado, Carlos Correa, Whit Merrifield. I mean, these are names. I'm telling you, these are some who's who of Major League Baseball in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And Kristen Yelich having a bounce back year. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is a really good lineup. Like on overall, like just by names only, pretty good lineup. And then when you see the stats, wow, like pretty underrated.
Now, Starling Marte, is he coming back soon? Is that why? July 20th. Okay, so he hasn't
this week, so
due to migraines. Okay, so maybe he hasn't set that lineup yet as of this week. That'd be a shame if he has a really good team. He's making moves. It's improving every week, and he's not been paying attention, which it's impressive. But eventually that catches up
Trout
to you.
on the IL
too. Kevin's not paying attention. That's why I tell people. Doesn't matter free league, pay league. People are gonna act the same way no matter what. And if this is a free league, this looks like a free league team with the lack of attention that he's paying. But you know what? It's this is a best ball team, right? You know, just set it and forget it. Don't bother me until the end of the year. And I guess that's how he's gonna play it. But you know, Jordan Montgomery, hey, he's been pretty solid. I know we were high on him coming into the season. You Darvish, not happy with his performance, but
Yeah, it's been all right.
he's been all right, I guess. But not the Darvish we know. Jesus Luzardo has been finally living up to that lofty expectations that we had with him in Oakland. Eduardo Rodriguez with a 0.97. Sean and I, we talked about him on the last podcast that we did together, and I still don't believe that. I still can't believe what I'm seeing out of Eduardo Rodriguez this season. But
Do you
I
feel
guess
the Tigers still overpaid for him? Like, I feel like
I
he's
don't
a
know.
really good pitcher, but I don't think he's your ace.
He's always had very good. I remember that one year I had him as a top 30 starting pitcher because of the projections, and I wasn't happy about it. But I guess it makes sense. But I always feel like he's fragile. This year I had him ranked at number 97. So if you are telling me, does the number 97 best pitcher in all of baseball coming into the season deserve all that money? I would say no. But you can't argue with the results. It's hard to argue with the results. I mean, the 2.69 ERA, the 0.97 WHIP, 88 strikeouts in 83 innings pitched. Who says no to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, completely agree.
Yeah. So, and the Tigers are making some squeaking, not noise, just a little bit of squeaking in the AL Central.
That's a lot. That's not saying a lot, but
It's something. And they are duping people into believing that Michael Lorenzen might be a trade candidate, a very good trade pickup, which I'm not a sucker for that stuff. I'm not falling for that. You can't fool me. I know better.
did the
Anyway,
did
go
the
ahead.
wasn't Alavila the guy that was running the
What?
Tigers, or did he get let go?
No, he got fired, I thought. Let me see.
That's why Michael Lorenzen has been following. That's why the Michael Lorenzen thing has been suspect, because I'm like, Alavila wouldn't have done that. He would have kept him, trying to sign him for a 300 million contract, and
That's the manager. Who's the general? Is it? No. There it
it's
is.
Jeff Lunghow.
No. Scott, this thing, New York Times. I don't know how old this article is. New York Times, Detroit Tigers work to build under Scott Harris.
February 22nd of this year. So yeah,
The Detroit, I said to hire San Francisco Giants general manager Scott Harris. Was that a lateral move for him? Oh, that's the new president of baseball operations. He's
gotcha.
35 years old. He'll replace Alavila. I mean, the Giants. I mean, we Giants are one of those teams that we kind of sing their praises of.
Yeah,
So I mean, 3-time champions in the early 2010s. They kind of came out of nowhere in 2020, and the last couple of years been a thorn on the Dodgers and Padres side from completely dominating that NL West division. And it's because that's a pretty smart ball club. I don't know what the hell they're doing with their farm system. Their farm system players are just so disappointing. Helio Ramos, anybody? That's what I thought.
I
Nobody
actually
even.
saw I
Go
actually
ahead.
saw Elio Ramos, Isan Diaz, and Joey Bart recently on a game. So they came to Salt Lake for AAA. So it's a pretty good game.
All right. Well, hey, yeah. So I got distracted a little bit. Austin sent me a message apologizing for not making it. That he feels really bad. Hey man, next time we'll have more of these in the years in the weeks to come, as we definitely need to get your thoughts in here. And you know what the best part about, back of my mind, Angel, back of my mind, Austin owes me a Chicago summary show.
What do you mean?
Remember, I saw him in Chicago. He came to
Oh,
visit
it's
us.
true.
Drove
It's true.
You know, I need to hear his complete thoughts on the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium, on the White Sox and the Cubs and the city itself. I mean, I was already probing him. Hey, so what do you think is the biggest difference between the Midwest and where you live out in the desert in California? And he basically said, well, the first thing I noticed is all the green. It's all the green that's out here. It's amazing. It's so green. Like, really? Southern California doesn't have trees, man? I mean, I live in a desert. You got to remember that. Like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And that's the same thing he said about Washington State, too, like how green it was. So things that we take for granted here, right?
Yeah. No,
How,
yeah. I mean, I live on the mountains,
That's what I was gonna
So
ask you. Yeah.
like you've seen the views that I sometimes take and post on on the groups. So it's pretty. That's something that probably when I go to California, I probably wouldn't notice. So I hope to see him too. Probably going in a month to California to watch the Angels. So
Yeah. Hopefully you guys can link up and you have a picture to share
yeah,
people that you met in the group. Whose team are we talking about? Oh, this is Kevin's. His pitching. It's all right, I guess. It's okay. So with that being said, Angel, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, we can go into the roto standings, and I mean, we don't have that kind of time. We cover this like a blanket. Um and here's the roster moves. It's still kind of disappointing that we still have teams who haven't even gotten to 10. I don't know what the deal is, if they're not paying attention or if they are just gonna stick with the people that they drafted. I know that uh waiver wire pickups can be the difference between a good season and a bad season, but also you want to make sure that you draft guys correctly. But so far, the average waiver wire transactions is about 24 and a quarter. So let's call it 24. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half the league has not even gotten to that average yet. And and then what, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 teams are not even at 20 ad drops for the season, which is kind of head scratching and kind of concerning as far as activity goes. But other than that, what are final thoughts on this league overall? And you have the perspective of being in another league just like this one with the categories and all that, similar scoring system. Thoughts on this league overall there, Angel?
I like it. It's pretty competitive. You know, we talked about um yeah, there's some misslips, like people are not updating their lineups and stuff, but overall, I feel like every week in and week out, I gotta be checking my lineup to have the competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Because if not, then I'll struggle. Like
Mhm.
for example, these last 2 weeks, I thought I was out of town and I didn't have a lot of good signals, so I couldn't make a lot of massive changes.
Mhm.
So I was looking at my lineup, I was like, oh shoot, I'm not gonna make it last week on the pitching requirements because all my pitchers pitch on a Saturday. So
Right.
I wouldn't have like those two two starts a week type of thing. But then like the all-star break thing, extended it so that helped me. But overall, I feel like it's a pretty competitive league. I feel like this year has been way much better than what I had last year.
Yeah.
Last
Oh,
year I
much
had a
better.
lot of bad breaks, so but this year has been really good. I'm in a 9-game winning streak, so
What do,
hopefully we
I was going to ask you, what do you think was the biggest difference
from last
between?
year to this year,
Yeah, because obviously you're number one last year. You were at the bottom.
the
I
dead
mean,
last.
yeah, you were dead last, but you made it to the semifinal.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean,
Um,
all teams made the playoffs last year, but you still made it to the semifinals. So, which is something I
yeah,
warned people about. Hey, because people were complaining, why do 12 teams have to make it? Because that's the schedule.
yeah,
ESPN didn't allow me to customize the schedule the way I wanted it, where it could be fair and balanced.
yeah.
Not to use an old tagline there, but I'm all about fairness, right? So, in lieu of teams facing each other an equal amount of time, and if everybody have the same competition, I said, well, we don't have that this year in ESPN, so I will let all 12 teams make the playoffs. And people complain about it, and I go, listen, if you're one of the good teams, just make sure you don't lose to the bad team, and you're set. Unfortunately, you whoever was a good team that you faced last year, they didn't get the message. And who did you face in that first round anyway?
I faced Melvin.
Yes, because you know what, his team wasn't that good to begin with. He got exposed. Suplex City,
But
bitch.
but
Yeah.
in regards to your question, I feel
But
the biggest difference I have been better assessing offense. I
yeah.
feel like my offense last year was really spotty, pretty probably one of the worst.
Mhm.
So this year has been like I'm not the best off. I think well, I actually think I am roto wise the best offense, but I
Yeah.
feel like there's much more competition in difference of pitching
Yeah.
categories. Um So I feel like this year I've been better assessing. For example, Elias Diaz, the catcher for the Rockies, picked
Mhm.
him up from waiver wires.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Duran picking him up from waiver wires. You know, a lot like 10 round, like 9, 10 round Luis Arias, trying to be like, okay, look, he's available second and first. He's a really good hitter. Let's pick him up. So assessing hitting woes from last year was probably my biggest luck this
Yeah.
year. So hopefully it can keep going.
Yeah. I
What
mean,
about you to keep
what
the championship?
what's the question?
Well, to keep the championship on
What do I
your
have to do
trophy room, what do you think is going to be the biggest factor?
for me to not unfortunately, I was hoping that around this time of the season, I was expecting my pitchers to regress because there's no way they were gonna be this good for the consistently good for the entirety of the year. It's impossible. It's just too impossible. But I was hoping that by now I would have hitters that would pick up the pace, be healthy for once, because I got, my season started with a bunch of injuries. Not using it as an excuse, but I was scrambling to look for guys to replace Giancarlo Stanton, Harrison Bader, and all those guys, which that's not saying much. But I was hoping that by now my hitters would pick up the pace. I was hoping that by now a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, as dangerous of a proposition as that sounds like to depend on a very raw rookie to carry you, that would take care of any of my offensive shortcomings. And unfortunately, it has not. And the offense has sputtered. Like I mentioned earlier, I have been depending on way too many rookie players, which it's a very scary proposition, but it's out of desperation. I'll admit it's out of desperation, looking for that, chasing that high upside. But it's coming at a point where the pitchers are kind of losing a grip on their performance. And it was expected, but if I'm gonna repeat as champion, it is imperative that these hitters step up their game. Nico Horner has to step up. Tommy Edman has to stop being a jackass. And I am so sorry. I don't mean this. I don't mean it that way. I try not to do. I mean, I do and I don't. I don't like it. I don't like that about myself. Tommy Edman doesn't care about my fantasy team, and I don't care about the Cardinals. But if Tommy Edman could just play the way I think he could play, I should say, and boost up that on base percentage, that would solve so many problems on this team. But until then, it's a tall order to ask, right? And once again, outfield has been, even though I concentrated on solidifying my outfield this entering this draft, getting Randy Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez. It's once again, it's been makeshift. It's been scrambling to get a good lineup out there every week, and that's been a big struggle. So yeah, man. But luckily, I mean, like I've been saying, I've been kind of fortunate, and I mean, you saw the lack of participation on waiver wire from some of these ball clubs, right? Where you had guys with like 10 pickups this year. Not even, I should say, not even 10 pickups. So that offers a slew of players to be available on waiver wire. But I also know that if I keep doing that revolving door, that doesn't lead to any success either, unless I get lightning in a bottle at the end of the season and run with that. But I try not to. I try to look at the long game, look at long term. That's why I get guys like Jordan Westberg and Gunnar Henderson and Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain, because I have picked those guys to be the guy. I have made a point that those guys, and I know I'm yammering here, I do apologize, but I have pointed out that those guys are not just good for the now, but they'll also be good for later, because their upside is so huge that I have to take my lumps now and go with the growing pains. But come August, September, it's gonna prove dividends. It's gonna pay off in dividends or whatever. So that, I mean, it's a long-winded answer. It's a long-winded answer to say that my offense needs to pick up the pace and my pitching just needs to find a way to keep steady for the rest of the year. Which you know what, Angel, it's a marathon, right? It's a marathon. Even I know it's week to week and it's head to head. And I mean, anybody knows about how much luck is involved. That's what we call you, Bad Luck Angel.
Yeah.
But
I forget about that name.
no, I'll never forget about that. Damn. I'll never forget. But you know, you got to create your own luck. You got to, and the way I see it, like I saw in these rosters, I saw a lot of people who are churning and burning rosters, or churning and burning lineups, and they're going after the hot bat and the hot arm on waiver wires. And there is something to be said about having some patience for the guys that you drafted.
I feel, for example, if I can give any strategy, I'm not, a guru of fantasy, but
You're better than me, man. I'm supposed to be the guru. You're better than me. Go ahead.
but probably my approach on when it comes to waiver wire is I look for the hot bat to put on the bench to see if that picks up, and then I can turn it into, if it's something like, I'm always looking for the last 30 days, last 15 days. So I can be like, okay, look, I have a couple injuries here. I need to replace some players. For example, I had Jazz Sawinski at one point when he was hot on another league. I dropped him quickly when he went cold, because I was thinking, you know what? He's going to be hot for a while. He didn't. Drop him off and move forward. Yeah, you got to churn and burn a bit, but you can't be, throwing everything away from the game plan from when you started.
So I'm counting here: 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20. So I still have 21 players of the 27 players I drafted. I mean, so it seems like it's the last 5 bench pieces that I'm trying to figure out, and Vinny Pasquantino as well. He
Let me
definitely
see here.
he definitely would have been. I could share if you want.
It's 7, 8. I think I drafted Lane Thomas 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I mean, including the injuries list.
Yeah.
I have like 20, 19-ish. So without the
Yeah.
injury list, I think like 16, 17. So
Yeah, I mean that's, and again, Vinny Pasquantino getting hurt really messed me up. I know it's hard to trust you guys mention the sophomore slump all the time. It's hard to depend on one guy, on a guy with little to no experience to carry you. But I'm telling you, man, I had such high hopes for the guy, and yeah, the fact that he got hurt, I believe in Vinny Pasquantino so much because he just has this skill set that just screams stability and consistency, even on a bad team like the Royals. And once he left, it's been a scramble. But again, I don't give up on a lot of these guys. I mean, I gave up on Jesse Winker, but it just looks like he looks like damaged goods at this point. And I'm sorry. Vaughn Grissom, he's still in the minors last I checked. Harrison Bader, I gave up on him finally. I said, enough of this. I can't do this anymore. I think I gave up on him. I don't even know. But yeah, I mean, 21, 22 out of 27 players are still on my team. So it's not like I've been churning and burning and going after the hot bat, just injuries and just I feel like I gave guys enough time to prove themselves to be on this team, and their time ran out and I had to move on. So anyway, that's the show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everybody found this helpful in the league. And we don't do this to just bash people, but it's, educational purposes, and just why not? I mean, that's part of the perks of being you guys. I mean, all these guys like, hey, let me know when you get an open space on one of your leagues. Let me know when you get an open spot. Well, these are the perks of playing against me. Your team gets highlighted for better or for worse, and your performance gets evaluated on these podcast episodes. You gotta have a strong shell, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But you know what you were getting yourself into. This is why you signed up for it. But I hope you guys found this educational. I hope you guys found the criticism a little bit helpful. And we'll go from there. As you can see, I'm looking at Suplex City to see how many players he's kept. But okay. Adamas is on waiver wire. I know that much. I don't know. I didn't see Renfro on the list. Anyway, I don't want to keep doing this. I'll be here forever. Angel, thank you so much for appearing. Greatly appreciate you coming in and doing this marathon episode with us. Until next time, that is my friend Angel. I am myself, Felipe. We'll see you soon. Have a good one, everybody.
See you guys.